Well, hello. Hey, everybody. I don't even know what to welcome you to yet because, of course, as you can see on the overlay, we're still got the branding for Steemwave Radio. And I actually have some assets to change out, but of course it hasn't happened yet. So, welcome to Saturday. My name is Crimson Clad, and I'm here on the weekends on MSP Waves talking about blockchain, tech, community, answering questions, and doing my best to keep you in the loop. So, she said assets. Yeah, I did indeed. So I'm going to be working on this over the course of the show today to at least kind of reflect what's going on. But I'm glad to see all you guys, some people that I haven't said hi to or seen in a while. A show rebrand obviously has to come. Nobody knows what the hell day it is anymore because we're all in isolation or lockdown or distancing. And I know some of you are listening on the website, some of you are listening here through Discord, some of you might be listening through the Vim stream. We have lots of options for you. You were just listening to Making Stuff, and he had Ko on as a guest. Making Stuff, obviously, I'm a little biased, but I think one of the best DJs going. We have a great lineup here at MSP Waves, and regardless of what blockchain you love and you're interested in, MSP Waves is still going to be around. So, over the course of today, as songs are playing and as we're talking about stuff and we're explaining things, I will be switching out some assets on the screen. Assets, making them a little bit more direct for you. And we will continue on. We will have a great day. We'll chitty chat. We know it's going to get a little busier as the day wears on. And we'll start kind of looking at how this show can best meet up with new needs, new topics, the techno future, the Hive blockchain, what it is that's on your mind, and how we can get back to this show being everything you know and love. And, this is a great way for you to get to know people around the ecosystem. It's a great way for you to ask your questions, your comments, to come on air and chat with me, whatever it is that you want to do, especially in this time where we're feeling a little bit isolated. We're a little kept away from each other. There's a lot going on. It's confusing. It's been a time. Friends, it's been a time. Now, if you were here last week for this show, we did a lot of talking. We talked a lot about my personal stance on Hive and also on Steem. We talked a little bit about some of the similarities and some of the differences. We talked about the personal responsibility that's going to be needed. Hive is a bunch of really cool opportunities that we are taking, of course, but it presents us with some challenges too. So, many things happening, and I suspect we're going to see that usually about halfway through the show, we get people come running in and then they're mad that they missed half the show. So my goal moving forward is to definitely start getting this out there and doing a little bit more sort of, maybe not posting, but certainly doing a better job of reminding people that this show exists, because I've been getting some serious flack that I'm not doing this in the right place, or I'm not telling people about it, or that I'm trying to create a secret cool kids club. Well, yeah, you guys are in the cool kids club. You are the engaged and active listenership, but I don't mean to do that. So yeah, obviously more work for me to do, many ways that I can improve. And of course we do have to get the branding thing down, and damn it, I love the name Steemwave. So we're gonna have to come up with something equally cool. Somebody came up with Cyberbuzz last week, and that's still rattling around in my head as being very cool. So we'll sort that out, and we'll continue on today with lots of fun things. and answering questions and stuff. Will this be the third Crim show in a row that has exciting exchange news? You know what, Inertia? Probably not. That's too bad. So over the last couple weeks, we've had some really awesome big public listings happening while everybody's here chatting about it. And everybody's got to hear me kind of lose my shit and get a little emotional. Well, I don't know. What I can say is the Bittrex full listing is open. The airdrop has happened on Bittrex. Everything with them is sorted. Now, the other two, Buzzwave, Saturn, Crim. Yeah, something like that. So certainly I'm happy to see some of you guys that I haven't seen in ages. I see a Justine has snuck in. Hi, Accio. I haven't seen you in a while. Big Tom. Big love to Big Tom. And I feel like such an asshole because Big Tom gave me some serious shout outs and love on chain. I haven't logged in as me in literal weeks. Like actual literal weeks. I've been posting, I just haven't been posting as me, and that's a big thing that I have to change in the next little bit. Also on the to-do list for this weekend. And so hello to the rest of you. If I don't say you by name, Philip Keen, I haven't seen you in a while. Give your wifey a hug. So if I don't say your name out loud, it's because I'm a shitty DJ, and the show's just starting. The coffee is here. So I know many of you guys want me to go right on to the whiskey, but we'll start with the coffee today, and we'll chitty chat a little bit about what you guys want to talk about. I'm guessing Hive is going to still be the name of the game. That's probably where we're going to be focused. But it's up to you guys. Now, certainly this week we do have... Thanks, Philip. I'm glad to hear she's still kicking it and doing well. And yeah, so... Lax is asking, does that mean it's no longer under maintenance on Bittrex? No, it's up, it's kicking, it's alive. Hive is alive, kids. And so there's lots going on out there. There is, of course, Ionomy. Now, Ionomy, they actually have pretty low liquidity right now because, of course, people already have Bittrex accounts. They're waiting for that. They're waiting for the airdrop on that. But if you do want to keep an eye open for arbitrage opportunities, then Ionomy is there. I have to give them a shout out because for many of you guys, you may not know, but they were probably the very first to just say, yes, all in, we want to help you guys, you're awesome. And they immediately got going on having the wallet and everything up and ready. And so I always want to put them out there as they've been really solid. Now, obviously, they're damn smart in that they're going, hey, new community, passionate community. We know they're going to be trading. Like, it's good business for them. But I have to say, they are a fucking class act. They've got somebody, a customer service rep available in the Discord if you need help. So I'm giving them a little bit of a shout out. It's not a referral. I get no money. I just wanted to put that out there as there are many awesome exchanges, Bittrex especially because they never got involved in the governance stuff. And those two need a little bit of extra love for doing the right thing. That's what we want to do as a community. We want to put out there, where are the exchanges that have treated us well, that have shown that they have clearly defined business ethics and policies in place? And, who is it that we know have been available and open? And there's fucking Ron with a referral. Hi, Favcow. Thanks for joining us. I hope that's how you say your name. But listen, one of the most important rites of passage for people who are listening either on the website, on the Vim stream, if you're there, I may not see your comments. So the Discord here, we're gonna get back to linking all the chats together. But the Discord chat here, I keep an eye on, and it's how we kind of figure out what people want to talk about. It is a rite of passage for me to butcher your fucking name on air. So if you're new and you speak up and you have a little bit of chitty chat, that's great. I will absolutely say your name wrong, but it's with love. It's absolutely with love. So I'm super glad to see that many of you guys are waking up, you're checking it out, you're seeing what's going on. What is it that you guys want to direct your attention to today? Do you have something on your mind, whether it is Hive related or what's happening on Steem related? Let's start there. Let's go through that because there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot going on, and I know there are still a lot of questions. Hi, Mr. D. Thanks for joining us. What is Hivean.com? I don't know. I saw this. I saw this morning, and apparently it is another fork of Condenser. I don't know who's running it. And so here is the thing, guys. Whenever there's a site that looks like, one of the ones that you know of, please, this is a great time. Thanks for bringing this up, Gabriel. This is a great time to remember. Let's practice key safety, right? This is personal responsibility. And so one of the most important things about this is when you interact with sites, when you interact with the blockchain, it is absolutely best if you've got something, in between you and the site that you are accessing. And so, of course, this is why things like Peak Lock, Hive signer, Hive keychain all exist right now. These things are basically a buffer between you and the browser, you and the internet. And one of the most important things out there is that you don't immediately just straight up put your keys into a website. So I don't want to put anybody's personal work down, but until we know more about Hivean, please, for the love of God, don't put your keys into Hivean. Okay? Please, please, please. Hi, Richard. And I see Shane is talking. He's listening through his Aria. Please, please, please practice key safety. Be as safe as you are with your keys as you are with anything else that is precious to you. And in a COVID world, I'm sure that means a lot right now. So let us be smart about that. But I would definitely, if any of you guys hear more about who's running that site, please feel free to direct that information to me so I can be a little bit better informed and I can help some other people understand. Now, I do see that people are talking a little bit about feeling invisible. And I think this is something we touched on. Hey, Steem Qua is here. He's Hive Qua elsewhere. But this is something, oh yeah, lots of people are jumping in now. Hi, hello. My name is Crimson Clad. And so one of the most important things that you have to remember about feeling invisible is we have had this split. And, you know, the spirit of Steem is on Hive. But for a lot of people, there's, of course, things that are kind of keeping them in limbo. And one of the things, and we talked about this a little bit last week, is we're very used to automation. We're very, very used to that. And we're also very... Oh, I'm sorry. Some people say I'm too loud. Some people say I'm too quiet. Most people, after about an hour, want me to shut the fuck up. So, oh goodness. So let's talk a little bit about that, because if you think about this, in many cases, a lot of people were waiting. Oh yeah, sorry. Shane wants me to shut up pretty much immediately, but Shane doesn't always get what he wants, which is both good and bad, depending on what side of the fence you're on. Now, talking a little bit more about this invisible feeling, I think this is a really important thing to break down, because a lot of us who have been around on the blockchain for a long time have gotten a sense of familiarity. We've built up our groups. We've got our auto voters set. We know where to comment. We're really interested in certain things. And of course, moving to Hive, the tools haven't been immediate. And for some people, you know, they're not quite... They never really used Peak D before, and it looks a little different, and it's very, you know, feature heavy, and that's a bit intimidating. Some people, you know, the condenser wallet was down, so they just wanted to just wait until that was up. So there was a lot of there was a very sort of coming to Jesus moment this week when we really started splitting off, and the two chains are separate now. For all intents and purposes, they're separate now, and it's like, where do I post? Do I post in both places? What do I do? My friends are confused. Some of them are logged out. I don't know what to do. I haven't figured out how to... And there's a lot of little things that are going to, at first, have people kind of torn. They're going to be torn between the two places because they're trying to figure out what's the best workflow for me. And that's A-okay, but you have to remember that that means for the first little bit, Hive is going to have a lot of activity, but it's just like you're coming back to it as a new user. And in some ways, this is fabulous. And I know it doesn't feel like it. Everybody's going, oh my God, I'm invisible again. Yeah, but this is a fabulous reminder of what does it feel like to be new? What's the experience that I'm having right now? What did I do that worked really well for me? Who are the people that I'm missing in my community? What are the tools that I need? And all of these are bits and pieces about what's going to make Hive awesome. But the thing is, Hive is new. Hive needs work. And I don't mean at a base level. I mean at all levels. One of the biggest and most important things about Hive is that we said, hey, we're going to fucking do this. We're not going to leave this to somebody else. But the part of this week that is the realization that people are coming to, and we discussed this a little bit on last week's show, is, oh shit, now we got to do it. And that is tricky. It's tricky. Now, depending on how you look at this and depending on sort of how your mindset is around it, this could be amazing for you. I know it feels shitty, and it's going to, but there's some real opportunities here. Now, Atcha is saying, I have a small group of people on site. I never built a big following to begin with, so, not too big of a fall for me. And I think that's really important. Where you go now and what you do now is you have this second chance. And if you do feel invisible and if you do feel smaller, the second chance is, hey, it shouldn't take me too long to gather up all my friends again and get going from that level I was before. That's one thing. So encourage the people to get out there and start commenting again. Start bringing that buzz back to the chain, as Inertia is saying. That's cool because you have those connections already made. You know how to use the tools. You've already kind of had this experience and you do have friends already. And you can build off that level. But if there's something you wanted to do differently, if you're hoping now to start using different tools or go in a different direction or a new niche or start joining communities, you have that opportunity too. There is this ability to kind of say, you know what? New chain, who dis? And you can do that. And that's very cool. But what it is doing is it's causing you to think about what you want out of the chain. And it's causing you to think about, hey, what was the most important thing to me prior to all this? What was the thing that kept me there? And it's a nice sort of question to ask yourself. And we never really did it. We got so in the groove. And that's good and bad. Anytime you're challenged to kind of think about what it is that drives you and what it is that makes, the blockchain important to you, it means you can actually, it means that you can actually start, developing yourself and your own enjoyment in that direction. Now, let me see. Yeah, Gabriel says, I've been commenting again, and Soundwaves is going to say he's going to bring that buzz back. That's great. And I love these fun competitions that Soundwaves has been doing. So that's really cool. Anything that can draw people out of their shell and realize, hey, this is the same but different. I can take exactly what I want out of it, and I'll get exactly what I put in back. That's sort of the headset, the mindset that we need to be in. Now, let me just see here. Sorry. Atcha is saying, I would really like to see a post drop area on Discord that isn't like a billion shit posts. I don't want to read to stream my engagement, but I see how that might be difficult. Yeah, here's the deal. And this is one thing why I realized, oh, hey, Niall, I haven't seen you in ages. Thanks for joining us. I mean, maybe I even saw you last week, but I'm a drunk, so go fish. And Marco made an awesome post for me, and I still have not logged in to comment on it. Marco, I'm a giant asshole. I promise that is coming your way very soon. But so one of the reasons that I do want to bring this up is because you have an opportunity on Hive. A lot of that streamlining can be done with communities. And I know a lot of people are still a little iffy on them. They're a little difficult to kind of wrap your head around, but you may find that communities now are going to play a bigger role in your day-to-day life. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And so, yeah, Acho's saying the hardest thing for me is digging through and finding more people and I enjoy interacting with. And that is fascinating. Hey, Philodendron, that's Seb and Elaine. Hi, guys. I am so sad. I was supposed to be seeing all my Montreal friends, Julia and Darsico and Seb and Elaine. I was supposed to be flying to Montreal tonight. Boo earns. A post-COVID world is brutal. We're going to get through this, though, with cool things like what we're doing right now. So, yeah, communities are going to be something that I think if we all start kind of thinking of them a little differently, it might actually narrow down this thing, and Ancho's got a great point. The hardest thing for me is digging through and finding more people I enjoy interacting with. Great point. And so Soundwaves is making a post, interact with me. Great. Get out there and comment. Shameless plug. Yeah, Justine is here. I know. Isn't that exciting? And so one of the reasons that I bring this up is, you can't always assume that you're going to want to interact with people wholesale. What the fuck do I mean by that? What the fuck am I talking about? The reason I bring this up is you may like interacting with somebody on a certain topic, but not all the time. And you may like commenting back and forth with them, but you may find you don't actually like what they post on a day-to-day basis. You don't feel super engaged to what they're producing, and that becomes tricky. And so one of the reasons that communities especially are going to be valuable is you can build, groups of people that just like each other if you want, but also you can actually you can peek your head in and you can say, hey, everybody in here is talking about a thing I like. I'm going to join this community. And all of a sudden, you don't have to follow specific people. But what you can do is you can follow either a topic or, an interest and start talking about your interest. And more often than not, that's how you find people you love and are interested in the real world, right? Very rarely do you just walk down the street and say, hello, will you be my friend? Hello, will you be my friend? Hello, will you be my friend? And somehow hit upon the right person for you. Now, especially right now, that's not a thing you're doing. But think about how you are social and you make friends in real life, right? How do you do that? In general, I hope to God you're not running down the street tackling people. Just be like, friend, hello, friend. It's just not how we do it. And so on the blockchain, are we surprised that it doesn't super work the same way? And so up to this point, that's your fave, Abundanator. Hi, buddy. That is, yeah, and actually, Acho is saying occult and spiritualism. There's a huge Twitter presence, even from Hive and Steem, who love, sort of the occult and witchcraft and spiritualism and tarot. There are a ton of these people. They're out there. And so let's think about this. When we talk about what makes social blockchain or what makes social media or how even literally do we make friends and find people we want to engage with in real life? It's not the motherfucking spray and pray approach. And so previously, think about the way that you went through your Steem journey. Because for a lot of us, we've been through it. We've seen some shit. We knew it was hard. Right? You remember this. And so Abundanator invites everyone to be sister wives. Perfect. I love it. But so, when you think back to this, I'm sure most of you were like, I had to find content I liked, and then I had to comment, and then they had to comment back, and then maybe we'd meet in Discord, and maybe we'd talk, and then we realized we were friends. That's tricky. So all of a sudden, think about what communities can do. And as we build out more communities, as interfaces have better sort of ways of getting to know them, and Peak D is excellent for that. All of a sudden, instead of searching through the whole wide world of stuff, you can say, okay, well, I'm pretty sure that I love blank. I'm going to see who interacts in this community. And I'm going to see who has something to say about this community stuff that I'm interested in. And the people can start kind of narrowing down groups of, hey, I like this. It doesn't have to be a thing. It can be anything. Look at the yelling community. And so it's this weird shift in the way we think. Communities can start having their own front ends. Maybe they'll be built around apps or games or whatever. But I think one of the most important things is, as we move forward, the tools that we have, and especially communities, are going to become a really important part of our day-to-day engagement and how we find the people who matter most to us. And the reason I bring this up is, communities have been testing for a long time, and they launched technically right after Justin. And so a lot of what makes them so exciting has been lost in the shuffle. And so today, if it feels like I keep coming back to this, it's because I think a lot of the tools that we have are actually just not quite understood yet. Are they perfect? Are they the answer to everything? No. But are they really going to help us in a huge world and the fire hose that is Hive content? Are they something that can really help us figure out, hey, what are people doing? The yelling community, I love it. This is one of Izaria's brainchildren. And she's very creative and very brilliant and does a lot of cool art and music and all sorts of things. But this community, I bring it up for one reason and one reason alone. Air your grievances! Yes, thank you, old yeller. I bring this up for a reason. This is fun. There is you don't need to like anything specific. You don't need to do anything specific. Literally, it's a fun place to test this out. It's an activity that you need no special skills for. And all of a sudden, it's just a chance to be like, fun. And this goes to show you that it doesn't have to be a special interest niche. It doesn't have to be, I would like to create a community where only people post their knitted tea cozies. This goes to show you that you can build groups of fun people doing silly things that brings people together. Neil McSpadden, what an ass. I love you. You're a great troll. I like your new picture. But I mean this from the bottom of my heart. This is not slamming the yelling community. It's not slamming people. But the reason that I bring this up is because the yelling community might be a perfect way for you to dip your toe in. And all of a sudden, you might find somebody yelling about something hilarious and you realize, I love this person. God damn. And so this is something that I think is going to become crucial. What if we went through that journey that we remember back in the day with Steem? But here on Hive, we have this new mentality, this new effervescence, this new spirit. It's the same spirit, but it's got some zhuzh behind it now because we're taking control of it. So what the hell? Why not check out some of these communities? Because if we had those tools previously, do you think it would have been easier to kind of group up people that you really enjoy interacting with? My thought is yes. And right now, the problem is there aren't that many of us. And so every time a community gets made, it often kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And how are we going to start using these tools to encourage others to as well? Now, you don't have to stay inside communities. Everything is voluntary, and you guys know that. But the whole point of having us all here and chatting and talking about the possibilities for Hive and what we love is, what can we do differently now? How can we start at that same level and take off like a rocket? And I truly, truly think that that this is going to be central to how we organize the social part. Not even the blogging part, not even the content part, but the social part. Now, Killer B, Achio's asking, if I make a community, can I have it so I have to accept people, or can anyone join? So right now, the way it works is when you make a community, anybody can post into it and anyone can join. And moderators that you can assign and share leadership with, they're able to either mute specific posts, mute specific people. And so there is some control overall of the feed and the group and the way that people are allowed to interact within your community. And at the same time, you're not taking away their ability to say what they need to say and their ability to show that work to everybody else on Hive. And that's very powerful. But let me just see. Gabriel is saying, I appreciate your candor very much, but I want to see a white paper, not Wales excuses to why there isn't one. That's interesting. I think we'll have to touch on that. Now, last week we talked a little bit about the difference between where Steem was and where Hive is. And so a white paper, or if you're talking about, say, a roadmap, that's something that we're going to have to do together. Now, this is going to be fascinating. This is going to be a fascinating process because remember, there is no central entity. There is no truly official source. Now, of course, Oh, Strange Visions is asking a quick question, so I'm going to take an aside. How do you add nameplates in a community? You can edit someone within a community. You can edit a member's role, and you can also edit a tag. There's a little, if you're in the community and you're a moderator or higher, you can actually go and you'll see a little pencil icon, and you can have some control over adding those custom titles to people, which is so fun. So if you're a moderator or higher in community, test it out. Check out how fun that is. But coming back to the roadmap thing, here's where this is going to get challenging, is we do have a group of people who have spearheaded this whole sort of Hive birth, the joy and creation of Hive. But as we talked about last week, one of the trickiest parts is before we had someone to always point a finger at, and they were the perfect scapegoat, because when they did something good, we'd be like, yeah, exactly, you have the money to do it, so do it. And when they did something bad, we said, fuck you guys, you're holding us up, you're the one roadblock. Now, we are in a new epoch, a new era with Hive. There is absolutely a kind of quasi-nebulous official core group, but at the same time, things are now being turned out to be more and more decentralized. True decentralization is hard, but we are actually trying to move towards that. That's the goal of Hive, as we've always said, that's what we want, that's what we love. But as we talked about last week, the tricky part is now we got to do it ourselves. And we do have tools, and we do have very capable people, but it's going to be a little bit trickier in that I want a roadmap now. Who writes that roadmap? And if somebody takes the responsibility of writing that roadmap, did the community get a chance to weigh in on it? And so what's going to happen in a lot of cases is that drafts are going to come out. People are going to give feedback. And so what you're starting to see, just like the core chain, the repos are now public. There are going to have to be forms of feedback given by everyone who has an opinion. And so that does mean that you're going to have to write your own thoughts. What's the roadmap look like for you? But of course, the roadmap is going to come down to what can I do, or what do I want to see? And who is the dev that is going to take that on? Because the beautiful thing now is that anybody can start working on any chunk of code they want. Before, we were saying, okay, all right, Steem and Ink is working on SMTs. They can't do governance right now because SMTs are in the way, and we got to get them through SMTs. And so here's the tricky part. Here is the tricky part. It was so easy to say, well, we know what their roadmap is because they told us. But now we have what we're trying to move towards as a slightly more and hopefully continually more decentralized ecosystem. And in this ecosystem, it may be that the block trades team is deciding that they are going to work on core code, and Howo from Steem Press, he's going to keep on testing SMTs, whatever the fuck they're going to be called for Hive. And he's going to work and he's going to talk to Vandenberg, and this is all going to be in a public repo. And all of a sudden, the community starts talking more about governance changes, and somebody else is going to step up. Maybe Raycoms is going to learn a little bit more core code, and he's going to step up and start putting some work out there for governance coding. All of these things can and probably will be worked on simultaneously, but it's not going to be the same workflow that we're used to. And this is so cool. And this is so scary. And this is much more difficult to do in a way that is fast. So here's what I can tell you, because I actually really do agree with Tainted Blood. No witnesses can step up and just say, look, Stink didn't do it. Steem and Ink didn't do it. It's true. It's true. That's for everyone. And again, good and bad. Just having ideas matters. But where do we share them? How do we talk about them? How do we iterate through them? And where do we find a developer to make them happen? Because no one person is responsible for this now. And that is the trick. And that is where the DHF, the proposals, come in handy. And this is we're in this place right now. Now, obviously, gonna have to take some time. The core part of the chain, the infrastructure, is all coming up right now. There's more and more people kicking in. There's more and more people checking it out. But of course, we have to have a little bit more stability. So remember, one of the coolest things is we've talked more about this. We've understood this better in a week on Hive than we have ever on Steem. And part of that is because we have to. We have to. So why don't we take a very quick break? I'm going to take a very quick break. I'm going to play you guys a song. We'll do a little dance in the pants. Hey, Carson, thanks for joining us. We'll do a little dance in the pants. We'll get you guys a little bit perked up, or for some of you, annoyed like crazy because you hate the music. We'll come back and we could talk a little bit more about this challenge. We could talk a little bit more about timelines. We could talk a little bit more about the relationship between what's happening with what we want as a community. Hey, room service, good to see you, man. We could talk a little bit more about what we want to see as a community, and that the connection that's going to have to happen between ideas and actual output. What that looks like, how we as a community can facilitate it, and sort of what does a truly decentralized roadmap even look like. These are cool, interesting thoughts. So while I understand that things seem a little slow, they're actually moving at light speed. We're a week in, and there's some really interesting stuff happening. So I'm not putting you off, but I do think this is something that as a community, let's think about. Let's talk about this a little bit. What does this look like? There are so many possibilities with Hive. There are so many terrifying things, and honestly, it's awesome. It's cool, and it's going to come from us all talking together. So, if you're just jumping in, my name, Patient Zero, your sass, I mean, I like it, but at the same time, I find it just so disconnected from what we're often talking about. But I mean, I'll try and answer your questions too, or I'll at least try and engage in dialogue with you. I just find, like, holy crap, everything about that statement really is disconnected from the ideas that we're talking about. But that's fair. I think people should have disagreeing opinions. So let me play a quick track. My name is Crimson Clad. I was a Steem witness. I am a Hive witness. I am a crazy lady who likes blockchain and who likes you guys. And so regardless of how you feel about me, on Saturdays, I am here talking about community, answering questions to the best of my ability. You guys do sometimes stump me, and I love that because it's a learning opportunity. And it's a great way for all of you guys to get to know each other, say what you're thinking out loud, and then take it out into the world and make it happen. This was Steem Wave Radio. It's needing a cool rebrand. I don't know what we're going to call it, and that's okay. However, as this song is on, I'm going to change up some of the assets on screen. If you're watching on the Vim stream, if you're watching on the website, wherever you may be checking it out, you're going to see those switch up. And probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have a proper cam going on. So my big old ugly mug is going to be front and center. And we're going to have Hive Jive Radio. I love it. So we'll have a little more discussion about this. I haven't even drank yet. Checking out the time, we got about an hour and 20 minutes together, so there's still lots to come. Now, I'm going to play you guys a quick track because, we got to have the synthwave part of it. I love that vibe, that aesthetic. It's such a great match for what's going on around the chain. I'm going to play for you guys. Let's just see. Let's go to my big old master playlist here. I am going to play... Let's see. I'm going to play a track called Switchblade. And this track is by a group called Pilot Priest. My God, I can't speak today. And it's got some of that good synthwave vibe. When we come back, we will continue chatting. I'd love to continue diving into the idea of how do we stay true to what we want as a decentralized group, but how do we work together? And what does that look like in moving us all forward for Hive? Thank you. You're listening to MSP Waves. It doesn't matter what blockchain you are most interested in. MSP Waves continues. We are an interactive social broadcasting network. My name is Crimson Clad. They've let me keep being on the air here for like 3 years, so I'm just going to keep going with whatever it is that you guys want. There we go. All right, welcome to whatever the fuck this show is. My name is Crimson Clad. Hey, Steemian. Hi, everybody else that's joining us. If you're just jumping in, jumping out, saying hi, saying bye. My name is Crimson Clad. I am a Hive witness. I'm a Steem witness. I'm a very passionate disruptive technology advocate. Crypto, blockchain, that tech noir, dirty synthwave vibe, techno future, Neo Tokyo kind of Blade Runner-esque feeling. And that's where this show came from. So for those of you who join me every week, I'm super happy to have you. I did a quick recolor and re-asset of the overlay for now. It's quite jarring. It needs some work, but hey, 4 minutes is all I got. So that's what we did. Now, we've been having a fun time talking a little bit about what does starting again on Hive mean? Because it's not actually starting again. So in some ways, you get the best of both worlds. Unknown online. Hi to you too, man. So, we can do this however you guys want. We can have a couple people on air who could chit chat with me. We can continue on talking, or we can also just continue down this path. Now, before we took a quick break there, we were talking a little bit about what does it feel like, and what does it look like in an ecosystem like ours to connect the ideas of end users, interested parties, of people who aren't devs, but who have thoughts on roadmap or want to see something like that in a decentralized ecosystem. And so how do we start approaching connecting those people and connecting up people in governance? Or, we often think of, hey, the witnesses are devs, they're going to do the work, and witnesses are going to build all the apps, and witnesses are going to do this. And it's time to start thinking about, hey, in a decentralized system, devs should be able to say, hey, I can build blank. And when the end users say, hey, I want to see blank happen, it is probably time to start looking at what does a disconnect look like between governance and devs? And I don't mean that witnesses shouldn't be devs, but what should happen here? And in a lot of cases, what should happen is a dev should be able to say, okay, we have proposals that are about information gathering. And so witnesses maybe make a proposal to gather information on user interest in how governance can change. And after there's kind of a period where we say, okay, we know that a lot of the platform, the consensus is we want to see things change like this. The next thing is a proposal that says, hey, let's find a dev to code it so we can all work on it together and test it. And so all of a sudden, it shouldn't be like, hey, let's elect the right witness to write this code. It should be sort of finding the right dev to help contribute to the ecosystem. And it's a total shift in the way that we think. But this was why the proposal system was created on Steem. And it's why the proposal system is so important to the idea of decentralization. And so now we have it. And the way that we think about and this connection between all of the parts of the ecosystem suddenly becomes way more important. Soundwave says, but if you need somebody to program your microwave, hit him up. I got a lot of flack for taking my microwave out when I redid my kitchen. I didn't use it, so I'm not building a special place for it. It's sitting in my garage in a box, but I mean, it's there. Oh boy. So listen, I think this is a really interesting time and a really sort of important thing for us to talk about because, of course, the expectation is roadmap. What does a roadmap look like? And, Neil brought something up. Neil is saying, hey, use our DAO, use the DHF to vote in white paper proposals. And that's exactly how things are going to have to start going. Now, what I personally see happening and what I'd love to see happening would be groups of people getting together and saying, hey, I am a coder, I am a marketer, I am a comms writer, and the three of us together are going to say, hey, a roadmap looks like a white paper. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I know, but let's talk about what that looks like in practice, not an actual description. Let's talk about how we get there. And so what I think I'm hoping anyways, and what I think we'll see now is groups of people saying, hey, this is my vision for Hive. And here's the group that I'm going to put together to make that vision happen. There's nothing to say that there couldn't actually be more than one roadmap for Hive at a time. There's nothing to say that different groups can be working on different parts of code that all move us forward. And that is why our attitude has to shift. It's a fascinating change and it's tricky, but this, I truly believe, is going to be where we're seeing things go in the future. Now, this was a problem. Think about Steem and Steem it Inc. Before it was, we know where the central repo is, we know who's controlling that repo, we know where the code is, and we know they have a roadmap. And it was very much an impediment to individuals getting involved. Many felt like if I code something, I'm not going to get anything for it. And if I don't get anything for it, then I'm not going to do it. And I also know that Steem Inc. isn't going to care about it because it's not on their roadmap anyway. And that is very tricky. That's very difficult because we were in that mindset for 4 years. Now, Big Tom is saying, I'm really nervous about witnesses being devs and in control of the DAO fund. Well, here's the reality. Witnesses are no more in control of the DAO, of the DHF, than anyone else. However, some witnesses are also big stakeholders. That's fair. Now, not all witnesses are core devs. And so, when you're talking about who's in control of the DAO fund, let's use a really good example. And I'm going to keep bringing up Howo. Howo, Martin from Steem Press witness. He is not got a huge stake. He's not huge. He and Frederica are a team. But Howo has been doing some mad work on core dev. Same with Netuoso. Netuoso doesn't have a huge stake. And he is a dev. And he's been working on core development. Now, neither of these guys previous to this were in the top 20. They were not consensus. And so this is, he's not huge. I'm small shaming Howo. I am not. He's a delight. I was supposed to be meeting up with him this week for drinks, and that got nixed too, god damn it. So, and actually, if you do want a funny story, we were in Steamfest, and he actually look shamed me. It was adorable, but he turned around, he was like, he said something about my appearance, but I'll take that part out. He said something that was basically like, I can't believe you're a decade older than me. So here's the deal. Let's come back to it. I want to use either Howo or Netuoso as a great example. They have been working on the core code. They've been working on the core code. They also have witnesses. They could run code that they wanted to. But even as top 20s, they are not huge stakeholders. And so what this means is they can't actually control the DHF any more than anyone else. And even if they do run the code that they are writing, as individuals, they cannot change consensus. And it could even be that, let's just say, Howell goes, I'm going to write some core code that gives me a massive advantage because it's going to look for French IPs and French people will get an extra payout. Now, he would never do this, but let's use a really wild example. Let's say he did that and he ran that code on his witness. Do you think that A, if he explained that code through the DHF, that many people would vote for it? And do you think he would continue to get voted into the top 20? The reality is probably the rest of the platform would be like, oh, hell no, bro. And that would be the end of that. And this is why consensus is so important. And I know we feel like, oh, everybody at the top controls everything. But that's where we're at. That's where we're at. And so Big Tom is saying, hey, I hope you're right. I hope that's what it's like. It is the truth. So I think there's a lot of, hey, Jason, thanks for joining us. I think that one of the things that has to be put out there, and I'm sure many of you guys know this, but let's just put it out there one more time. The DHF has no keys. As an account, it is a very special account. Now, stake does equal control. And so there is absolutely, there are a group of stakeholders who have a lot of stake, but many are not witnesses. Look at They Call Me Dan, look at Joe Hall, look at, Freedom, look at, there are tons of people out there who have lots of stake, who are not devs and who are not witnesses. And so you have to understand that there is an interplay there. There is an interplay. And so any account with a very large stake can have as much impact on the outcome here as a witness can. And so in this case, it's absolutely up to consensus. And now when you're saying, hey, I feel like I don't have a say in consensus. Now, there's lots of stuff that we can start gleaning from proposals and information that can come from proposals that don't necessarily have to be stake related. But as people around the chain come to consensus on, here is a thing that we all want to see happen, votes to get a proposal to the top and funded matter. And of course, someone who has a bigger stake currently powered up in the platform is going to be interested in what's best for the platform. Now, often we say, well, people with stake only care about themselves, but there is sort of a wider bubble around that because of course they care about what's best for themselves. Of course. However, one of the tricky things with this is that if the coin fucking shits the bed, if the blockchain continues to make terrible choices, the value of the coin goes down. And so even though they're wanting what's best for themselves, if they make decisions, and witnesses too, if they make decisions that harm everyone, then of course you're going to see some real issues with the coin overall, and that value goes down. It's not for the best of them. Now, Inertia is asking, I do have a question. How did the DHF HBD balance double? That is a great question. I have to go look at that because I don't know that that's the case. And if it is, then yeah, that's a good question. Now, here is something that I can say. A lot of people are worried about the DHF right now, and they're going, oh, here is all of that wild money, and everybody can take it, and it's going to flood the market, and we're all fucked. We're all going to die. We do that a lot, as a species. We do that a lot. It's the truth. So Inertia, also maybe drop that and ask some of the other people that do some code stuff too, right? This is a great question. There is probably a great answer, but I'm going to have to go learn it because I can't give it to you right now. And I also have to go look at this too. So that's a good one. Thank you. It's going on my list, and it is something that I will make sure to put in a post as soon as I discover, or maybe we'll talk about it next week. Now, here's the deal. The airdrop funds, because this is something I want to talk about, everybody. Everybody's going, oh my God, we're going to die. This money, it's not mine. I can't have it. Here's the thing. So the funds for the DHF were airdropped in. So there's funds that existed there already, and then there was an airdrop in of more funds. Now those right now are locked. Anything that is in Hive and not in Hive back dollar is locked. And so what that means is right now, while proposals are funding and while they're doing everything, they can only fund what's there and what's being added in HBD, in Hive back dollars. And so that other big chunk of new stuff, that other sort of HP, Hive, this big chunk of stake, we are going to have to wait for a hard fork to put in some code to start liquefying it. Now, what does this mean? Holy shit, I don't understand. There's lots of tricky words. Okay, let's break this down for a second. There is Hive tokens in the fund, but the way that the fund is programmed, it only pays out in Hive back dollars. So something has to happen to that Hive to become turned into Hive back dollars. Now, Ron says, why can't we just power it up and use it to vote my posts? Great question, because there are no keys and no one person controls that account. It cannot vote. It will not vote. It will never be able to vote. And that is crucial. That's crucial. It will enter the ecosystem. It will slowly be distributed, but it will never vote. And that was the core of some of the biggest problems on Steem. Well, it's there now. It can't do that. It can do anything for love. It can do anything for Hive, but it won't do that. And that is important. That is important. Now, we could touch on that too, Neil. That's going to be something for all of us to talk about going forward. But so the reason that I want to bring this up is all of that Hive in there, it is not even going to be part. It's not even going to be part of the fund until the next hard fork. And that hard fork will be at least a month. And part of that is because exchanges need time in between hard forks. We want them, we're going to, at the beginning of a coin, hard forks that are more frequent, and especially in a case like ours where they're decentralized, more frequent as they get tested. But it also needs to be a little bit of time in between so exchanges can handle that. Now, in this case, in the hard fork, is our seized accounts is not particularly a good wording. What he's talking about is accounts that were not included in the airdrop. Now, lots of people argue with the airdrop terminology, and that's fair because that's not technically how it worked. But what he's saying is if you got skipped in the airdrop at the start of the coin, those coins went into the DHF fund. They're there. They didn't get taken away. They're there. And so what that means is community can vote on what they want to do with it, and the coins can then go back to those people if that's what the community wants. However, it may actually be that people go, nope, don't get them nothing. We don't want them to have it. Now, it certainly could be. We'll say, okay, we're burning them. That's a choice of the community, and it may be a valuable choice. I don't know. That's something we're going to have to talk over together. Now, I really want to get back to this quick liquefaction thing. I want to put that in your guys' mind so you have some empowerment here on knowing what this actually is. And that's tricky too, Big Tom. The original owners just can't have them. Please remember that at the launch of a chain, and especially distribution, no one owes anything. No one owns anything. And so part of the specifics of putting them into the DHF means they're not in somebody's personal account. They're not just hanging out, and somebody else took them. They weren't distributed to a different person. And so that's very tricky to wrap your head around. But in an initial distribution, no one owns them. So here's the thing. You, as a community, will be part of this vote. You'll decide what to do with them. Maybe it will be that they just stay in the DHF. Maybe it will be that they get burned. Maybe it will be that they all get given back out. Who knows? That's to come. However, hi, John Spalding. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. If I haven't said hi to you when you jump in, it's tricky. It's tricky. I agree, Big Tom. It quacks like a duck. But this is why we have these talks. And this is why a post will be coming out on the main Hive account. And this is why we have to talk about it together. Because tricky things are part of technology. Tricky things are only tricky until we understand them a little bit better. And how do we learn? We can only learn as we talk things out. So we're gonna get through this liquefaction thing. I promise. Now, here's, exactly. Inertia's pointing out that they're actually not at all seized, even from a blockchain level, from technically Genesis block of the Hive blockchain. You have never owned Hive. It's never been yours and then moved around. It was a true distribution. And that's hard. That's hard, right? Because we're all like blocks and distribution and airdrops and season. And so all of this wording is really difficult. But in this case, a true new distribution is a true new distribution. So in this case, let's come back to just the Hive in the DHF, because we're never going to move forward if we don't talk about this. The Hive that is there now, there is some big concern that it'll all get paid out and that the market will be flooded and everything will crash. And that was one of the biggest concerns about the Steem Inc. stake, the Ninja Mine over on Steem. So in this case, let's talk about this. We've already know. What have we learned in the last little bit of discussion? We know the DHF itself has no keys. No person controls it. No one person is able to start making transactions with it. No voting, no governance, no let's just shoot some money around. That's not possible. So we also know that the DHF, this DAO, this proposal system, it only pays out in HBD. So what happens? We got Hive in there. What happens to that Hive? And so what is being coded, what is happening in this case, is a slow liquefaction piece of code. What does liquefaction mean? I don't understand. What this piece of code will do is basically, slowly, over time, it will take some Hive, and it will use the conversion feature of the blockchain, and it will get them converted over kind of backwards from the way that we've always thought of it. We've always thought of it as like, we can convert Hive-backed dollars into Hive because they're backed by Hive. And so this is something different. This is something that a person can't do, but it's something that the blockchain will be able to do. And it'll basically say, all right, we're going to liquefy that Hive and we're going to get Hive-backed dollars. We're going to buy Hive-backed dollars. And that's what we're going to do. And so slowly over time, the Hive balance of the DHF is going to turn into an HBD balance. So we're not going to pay out in Hive magically. The account can't do that, and it's not going to do that. But what that means is that slow change, that slow liquefaction means that all of a sudden there shouldn't just be a pile of new funds, right? That's just not good. It's not good for anyone. And so slowly over time, the account will be topped back up on an automatic process. Automatically. Just keep going. Just keep going. Right? And so there you have it. That's kind of what's going to keep the market from getting flooded. It's an important part of this whole mechanism. Now, I see we're getting back into the stealing topic. I know a lot of people are hot under the collar about this. I think it's a really fascinating thing to talk about, and I understand why it gets people antsy. I also understand why a lot of people don't want to have this conversation, because nobody wants to be the one to talk about it and to potentially be the bad guy for saying, hey, this is how it is. However, I am willing to be that bad guy. I am willing to talk this out with you. And I mean, in a lot of cases I have. I don't mind appearing as I present sort of how this is. And we've already talked about it a bit, is, you know, the idea of ownership, the idea of theft, the idea of what's going on. This is, you know, it's tricky. We're using the word tricky a lot, but as I said, so is the launch of a chain. So is blockchain in general. And so the most important thing I can do is give you the facts as they are, give you the tech as they are, and help you feel empowered towards whatever it is that you end up making your worldview. And in this case, the backing of how you understand the chain as it works. I have no problem with that. So let us continue on. Yeah, exactly. Just the facts, ma'am. Exactly, Shadows Pub. So, in any case, and see, of course, it's funny because Patient Zero and some others are always kind of harping on this as a bad publicity thing. And it's interesting because for every piece of bad publicity that you think this may engender, there is just as much good publicity about it. And Steem struggled with this as well. For as much good as people said, well, at least it was a development fund. And some people I know on the chain, like Transisto, bought in specifically with the idea of, oh my gosh, Steem Inc. has a dev fund. That's awesome. And they believed that. That was positive publicity for them. However, there were many people who said, I will never touch Steem because of this. And of course, that good publicity, bad publicity flip-flop is the dynamics of the world. And it is the dynamics of both chains. So we'll talk about this again. We have hit the halfway point in the show. We're slightly over. My name is Crimson Clad. I am a Hive witness. I am Miss Modness if you nasty because I'm a moderator here in the pond and in a number of communities. I'm here to help you out. And in many cases, I'm here to just chitty chat with you, because how do you know what you think until you see what you say? And that's an important part of all this. So let us come back to this in just a second. I'm going to play another quick track. I'm going to give you guys a little bit more synthwave. I'm going to play you a track by Trevor Something. It's a little sexier. It's a little sexy. The track is called Let Go. Take that as you will. This is an as yet unnamed show. It used to be Steamwave Radio, but it's right here. It has been for 3 years and will continue into the future. It's my live show on Saturdays talking about tech, community, the blockchain, life, love, and everything. Let Go by Trevor Something. You're listening to MSP Waves. There we go. Let it go. Yeah, fair enough. Hey, I see Ganja Farmer has joined us. I see lots of people are joining us, hopping in and out as I annoy the fuck out of you, or hopefully help you out. My name is Crimson Clad. You are listening to whatever the fuck this show is on MSP Waves. Now, that was Trevor Something with a track called Let It Go. And during that track, I was actually fucking around with what's going on screen. I'm trying to make all the little listeners a little more visible there, so that's good. I'm getting on it. I will be doing my best to get the overlay zhuzhed up, get my live stream video in there. But that being said, all good in the hood. Crim's Dungeon. No one will ever come then. Now, so let's consider what we were talking about before. Now, many people are, hey, Zippy, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. We have to talk about we have to talk about this, and I know people are like, oh, witnesses don't want to talk about this. They're the worst. This cabal of witnesses are controlling everything, and they wanted to steal the coins. They stole the coins, the bastards. And, here's the tricky part. And it's why the terminology that was used is because when a new chain is created, any of you, but let's put it this way, any single one of you right now, I've never heard cabal emphasize on the first syllable. How else would you say it? Cabal? Cabal. All right, I'll start saying it. Cabal. Listen, I have a lot of really interesting linguistic quirks, and people love to make fun of me for them. So the way I say things often tick people off. I love it. It makes me happy. I am what I am. So either you embrace me as I am, or you downvote the fuck out of me, and I'm fine with both. So, circle jerk. Yeah. The way that I want to come back to this specifically is any single one of you could go right now and you could fork Hive and you could create a new chain. And this has happened before, and a lot of people don't realize this. In fact, Whaleshares, Golos, Scorum, Whaleshares too, is specifically, as a fork, did the exact same thing. The Steem stake was gone, was forked out, I believe. And so people go, oh, it's stealing. But a lot of times they don't think about it. And so in this case, the creation of this chain from the very first block was a redistribution with a new asset. And so this idea of theft is a scary and hard one because it's very easy to understand it that way when it isn't the truth. It isn't the truth. And this has already happened. And of course, the outrage wasn't there because people really couldn't wrap their head around it. Now, people are asking, how was Clapwave Saturday? That's so cute, Soundwave. Thanks. I'm going to save that. And I do have to create a website for this show. I haven't done it yet. It's on my to-do list. So people are asking, how did they choose to exclude people from airdrops? Now, this has already been gone over in depth, and an in-depth post will be coming out. But essentially, there were 3 major criteria. And it was basically more than 2 sock puppets voted for more than an entire week with an SP level at the time of over a certain amount, of over 1K. Now, what that means is the list can be completely I meant the other chains. Who the fuck knows? Do you care about them? Did they go somewhere? Were they attempting to do something? And so this is always funny. I love the idea of, well, but this is the one I care about, so this is the one I care about. Yeah. Welcome. Oh, I wonder if it happened at all. It may not have. You're right. I'm a big fat liar. But in this case, you could right now go, oof, I did not like it. I did not like what happened. And you could go fork Steem yourself or fork Hive yourself and create a brand new asset. Now, that asset didn't exist before. That asset didn't have a distribution. It didn't have anything. And so saying that I am borrowing a starting point, saying that I'm creating from a certain place in open source software, and saying that anything that happened before this therefore must be the important part of this new asset is false. It's completely false. And that's the part that is tricky. Neil's saying, something I have not looked into. Do those accounts that did not get Hive have an account at all? Yes, they do. 100%. So for a lot of people, they're saying these people were forked out of the chain. They're being blocked, excluded. They can't participate. And no, that's not the case at all. Their keys are their own. Their content is their own. What they choose to do going forward is completely on them. And so this is this fascinating part about what do we say about the creation of, it could have been very easy to just disinclude them altogether, open up their namespaces, let other people take them. However, that's not the idea here. And so in a lot of cases, here's sort of a good way to consider this. Here's sort of the baseline, and you can build off that. But the idea was, we knew what we wanted out of Steem. We knew the spirit of Steem was, hey, we want a new distribution in that the Ninja Mind stake has been exceptionally problematic and exceptionally difficult. And as we moved through everything that happened with Justin, what we realized is there are some people who absolutely want to see centralization driving the blockchain. Now, inherently, that's not wrong. If you want that, that's fine. That's okay. But in many cases, the dream of what Steem could be, and for most people, and even going back to the original dream of Steem that Ned and Dan had, was not that. And so in this case, as you split off, and yeah, Patient Zero is going to keep trying this incorrect voting thing. I'd like to try and remind you, I've tried many times, but it's not working for you, but perhaps the metaphor will work for another. You go along with what's happening in your country. There are voting, there are elections. You vote one way or the other. You find, I don't like what's happening here, or I do like what's happening here, and you vote accordingly. Should you decide that it is no longer tenable, you could pick up and move to a new country. And you have dual citizenship. In the new country, it very well may be that the new country says, ooh, yeah, you know what? I can see that you have done blank in your past, and they can actually not let you in. Now, in this case, the country let everyone in. The new country said, yep, come on in. If you share values with us, then we're absolutely going to start you off as having some help. Here's an airdrop. This recognizes that you have the same values as everyone else here. If you don't, that's okay. But you're also going to have to work for what you want. You're going to have to start from scratch, and that's fine. But come on in anyhow. And so it's fascinating to see people so focused on the sort of stealing perception, because that's not the case here. And I would be so interested. I would be fascinated. Yeah, see, Patient Zero is saying, I think since the GOP won the latest election, any Democrats receiving government benefits should be taken off the dole. And that's completely and totally unrelated. What you're saying is anybody who voted on Steem the wrong way should lose their Steem. Or anybody who is participating in a vote now on Hive should lose their Hive. And that's not what happened. And so keep trying to force this situation into an existing governmental structure or a metaphor that is blatantly wrong is really harmful, because we can't have a conversation that moves us forward. That metaphor is incorrect. And so if we can find something that actually makes more sense, we can have a good conversation about the parts that we're truly scared about. And that's fair. That part is fair. If we can find a better way, or at least a baseline understanding of what's true and what's true on a tech and data level, then we can decide how to argue about it. That's okay. That part is fair. But it is very problematic to start from a flawed premise. That's something that didn't happen on a code level. And that's the part we're struggling with now. And I understand that. I think there's plenty of people who are unsure here. And that is partially because there is an emotion tied to it. There are people who feel like, I feel like I was stolen from because everybody else got free money from me, but me. And that is an important aspect to look at, but it doesn't change the actual distribution. It doesn't change what happened. And so I think very valuably, we're going to have a wider conversation about this. And so I'm still going to welcome this. And, in a lot of cases, I have been the one in the Hive Discord and out and about talking to people and explaining, hey, yeah, here's what the community that have to do. Here's what we have to decide on together. And I don't mind seeming like the bad guy. It's okay, because I truly believe that there will be people who will get a second airdrop or get a second distribution. I do believe there are some people who honestly, they really, really want what's happening on Steem, and Steem fits their needs, and it doesn't matter. They don't want anything to do with Hive. What they want is what they perceive as free money that they're left out of. That is different than saying, I believe in what Hive is doing. That's saying, well, I want to sell that, and you didn't give it to me, and I'm owed it. And that's something we have to break down. It's not just FOMO. It's not just entitlement. There is so much trickiness. And yeah, Lacking brings up a great point. Remember, in our system too, this is the same way that voting works, whether it's up or down on a post. There is no collection, no payout of those tokens until the 7-day period is up. They don't belong to you until they have been transferred to your wallet. And a lot of people say that's not fair. Downvotes are stealing. It's the same thing. We're caught in sort of the moral and ethical mire of what this means. Fair, but again, we have to look at what the actual sort of baseline of the tech is. Now, Patient Zero says, all of this talk of entitlement seems ridiculous. We cloned an entire currency. Correct. So when you say, can I be entitled? The answer is no. So in that one statement, you're actually kind of undermining yourself, because technically anybody could fork Hive right now and do the same thing, redistribute. So what is it that stops this from happening all the time? This is a great road to go down. What stops this from happening all the time? Why can't we just print 1 trillion different tokens and I'll give them out however we want? The action of cloning it was entitled to begin with. Wrong. Totally wrong. I completely disagree with that. 100%. But let's just say we do. We clone it and we say, okay, well, I'm going to clone Hive. I'm going to make a new token and I'm going to airdrop to everybody who didn't get an airdrop on Hive. And it's going to be called Jive, and it'll be only people who were excluded on Hive. Where does value come from? And we had this discussion before. It's a fascinating thing. Who's working in that ecosystem? Who believes in that ecosystem? What are the shared goals that drive people to work together? And so when you're saying it's just printing money, it is. The reality is we're worried about what the Fed is doing, and we're saying, what gives that backing? What backs that? Well, here, the idea is, okay, we reject the idea, some people reject the idea that Steem is valuable anymore. We have created Hive. We have printed it. It's up to us to back it by a stable blockchain, by a group of devs, end users who come together to put value into this system, and people who come together to agree and say, yes, this token has value. And that is the crux of all of this. People go, I don't understand. Where does value come from? You're stealing my value. There was no value. This is all printing. Value on every single thing is subjective. Where people gather, shared ideals, place value on our homes, our towns, our relationships, our art, bartering, our markets. Where people gather, marketplaces formed. The only reason that anything holds value is because somebody else wants it. And so, often in a community, the thing has value because everybody agrees it does. And so shared values matter. And so when we say, hey, the people we want in our new ecosystem, or the people who get us, who get distributed in our new ecosystem, have to have a similar set of shared values. Here is the crux of the airdrop. We know there are many people who believe that Steem matches up with their values. There are people who absolutely want to see Justin Sun take it over, do all the work, centralize it, and make it great. That's fine. That's a shared value. But people who don't feel like that ecosystem fit them took a chance, made a fork, and the shared value system now is we have to do this together. We cannot do this in a decentralized way. And that shared value system is what gives this token value. If I want to give you a bead, a Hive token, a pound of sugar, if this is what contains value in our group, in our ecosystem, in the people on the platform, if that is the basis of value, if that is a thing that we all agree on, a very base idea, then all of a sudden it does make sense that when I send you a Hive token, you go, fuck yeah. If I gave you a bead and you went, fuck yeah, it would be because we both believe there is something about this bead or the idea of jewelry that has value. If it was a pound of sugar or salt and we tried to trade that within this ecosystem, the only thing would be a shared value of, okay, let me see. I like having sweet food. I need the salt so I can save food for myself. This is always how it has worked. And so in this case, there are people who have the chance to explore both types of ecosystems. If you want to straddle the line, that's a-okay. Steem is moving towards a centralized ecosystem. Hive is moving towards a decentralized ecosystem. And so these values are very different and they don't interconnect. These distributions reflect that. And where it goes in the future, again, comes down to a shared value system. Now, many people think that no one who voted any sock puppet with any exceptions should have got the distribution. If you feel like there are too many people agreeing with what happened, go out there and look. There are a lot of people who say no airdrop, period. And they're not happy with how things went either. It's a fascinating thing, but to assume that publicity is at the core of this really misses the mark. What's at the core of this is basically taking all of what a majority of people wanted and moving them to a place where they can try and go after it without ever changing the ledger or distribution in the original place. Now, maybe it isn't a majority. Maybe many people stay on Steem. But whoever is on Hive has shared values. It's very likely. And even if they don't have shared values, they may step in and go, yeah, I like how this is working. I like what's in this ecosystem. I like where these people are gathering, and I like what they're doing there. And I do want to take a shot at it. And you can do that. You may change your mind. These are all allowed. These things all still exist. So, in this case, we could talk about this all day. What you have to consider is what happens at a technical base level. Where does that start you off for your metaphors about what you believe is happening? What gives value to a token? And we had this talk here when this was the Steem Wave show, and we talked specifically about Steem. What brings value? What draws community together? What creates what makes Steem special? We had an entire show about it. We talked about it. Here we are again, moving towards how are these questions defined for Hive? And now with two separate places, we can actually start looking at which may end up being more successful, which draws who. That's fine. There is competition, and in some cases, there is dual citizenship for an end user. This is on you to decide. Just make sure that where you start your sort of thought process on this starts on a technical level. Now, for those of you who are waiting on a post about this, absolutely. This is something that I think is really fascinating. Is there'll be a whole post that comes out and says, here's the code that was used. Here's how you can replicate it. Here's what errors have been found. Here's where they'll be fixed. Here are the groups and the names. You could take a look at all of their voting habits. Here's the script. And then you can make decisions based on it. Data-driven decisions. We've talked about them immensely on Steem, and they are the start of things on Hive. Something that can be traced back to data, information. I can already tell that Hive is going to exclude people on future airdrops if they continue to use the Steem chain. You're practically telegraphing it. Well, you'd be wrong, unless people voting on whether those airdrops happen are immensely against the Steem chain. I find this very fascinating that you say you, like there is a single group of people who are Hive-centric that control this. Yeah, stakeholders. What if that's what they feel like? What if the largest stakeholders and a majority of stakeholders say, if I saw you still voting on Steem, I am not going to support you? What's the difference? It's the same as being able to vote on what you want. It's fascinating. It's fascinating and completely and totally flawed again. Now, let me continue along with the show. I always find this so interesting because, yeah, future airdrops. What that is referring to, of course, is not future redistribution. And that's what especially Patient Zero is arguing is, well, there'll be another redistribution. Things will be taken, they'll be moved, there'll be another fork, and all the coins will change. No, there won't be. Distribution happens at the beginning of something. A redistribution still happens at the beginning of something. Once the ledger is in place, this is the ledger. Now, there will be proposals for people to appeal. They may say, hey, you know what? I was in error. And if that's the case, they'll be fixed in a hard fork. But there may be people who say, hey, yeah, I got caught up in that script because I met some of that criteria. I want to ask the community, hey, this is how I feel. This is why I did that. What do you think? And the community will say yay or nay. That's it. And if they say yay, then they will be released coins that were saved for them, that were earmarked for them. That's it. It's pretty simple. The DHF is in place for this. Now, sound waves, we talked about this earlier, but I can touch on it again. Will witness voting change on Hive? I think so. Now, there's a lot of great talk about this. There's lots of people who have looked at changing votes down to 1 or 2, and some people who actually looked at infinite votes. Now, let's put it this way. Yes, I think governance is super important, and it was a talk that was happening more and more towards the end of Steem. Now, one of the fascinating things, oh, that's fine, no big deal, sound waves, but we did touch on this. One of the fascinating things that'll happen is the community has to find a way to agree on what that is. And Raycoms has done some really fascinating math about numbers of votes. Raycoms, Edicted, there's Mr. Professor, a bunch of people have been talking about this, and this is going to come out towards the chain as well. But regardless of how you feel about it, yes, but what will have to happen is a dev will have to work on it. The code will have to be tested. And of course, that's a big security thing. It's one of the biggest security things. So this isn't going to be an overnight process, but it is something that's going to become very key. We know governance has to change. What does that look like? How do we properly gather data on it? And of course, proposal voting is going to be really important. Very important for collecting. But discussions on chain are going to be very important too. And I think this is going to be a really interesting time. So do you expect someone right now to be working on this? No. The core chain still needs a lot of work. We have to get through that first hard fork to make sure that the last of the mistakes are knocked out. And of course, the last of the sort of core chain updates to help stability and to help people be able to bring nodes online easier and quicker and cheaper has to be done too. And of course, there does have to be a certain amount of time in between hard forks to make sure that exchanges are able to be brought on board, handheld through the process, and the chain keeps running smoothly. So for people, thanks Justine for coming out. And so for people immediately like who freak out and go, aha, I caught you, you bastard witnesses want to stay at the top. No, that's not quite how it works, but we do have to do this right. We do have to do this correctly. And I think there's going to be a fascinating time coming where people will be able to bring these ideas forward and say, and I have the ability to code it. And we can all test it together. Now, I highly recommend you check out Raycom's math because in a lot of cases, that's what we're going to have to look at as part of our ideas on governance voting. What mathematically makes sense here? What allows us to have a more granular control as a group over DPoS, but what helps us stay safe? It's a tricky thing. So Ganja Farm is saying, I need to learn more about Hive. That's what we're here for, baby. I am at your service. Now, today has been quite meandering. We've covered a lot of talks. Kymaticus, you're here. Judge Ganja, you guys are saying community needs a voice. So do witnesses. They both have it, but we can do better. And we've talked about this. It is an iterative process, but now we're forced to take it. We're forced to explore it. We're forced to find math that matches up. We're forced to find human law that matches up. And so a lot of what I talk about here is just ways for us to come a little bit closer to communicating more effectively with each other. Eventually, we're going to find ways to translate that into code, and that is the joy and the frustration of DPoS. Now, let us continue on. I'm going to play a quick track to give you guys a break from my voice. I hope you have found some interesting stuff about this. Today we talked a little bit. We started off talking about feeling a bit invisible on Hive and how that actually is not a bad thing because it's going to help you hone in on the tools that you need, what you use the most, and how you find the people that interest you. We moved into talking a lot about how communities, the launch of them is a bit tarnished, but how they are really important tools that can be leveraged in different ways to help us shape the way that we meet people and the way that we find people and ways to kind of narrow down parts of what engagement mean to us. And then we started moving on and we talked a lot about sort of the ideas behind the distribution and some of the other sort of theories behind what does a roadmap look like when you're in a decentralized group. From there, we talked a lot about what the DHF actually is, how the proposal system factors in more importantly now. And then we moved on finally to talk about some of the hard and tough and scary stuff around the idea of theft and stealing and all of the sort of scary words that come up around the fork. It's been a big one today, guys. It's been a brain buster. So thank you for hanging out with me as much time as we have. There's still 20 minutes left in the show. I'm going to play one more track, and I will be posting this recording. Now, in the coming weeks, I'm going to be doing more of that. I'm going to, hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks, have the final new overlay, new name, live cam up. We will have more sort of things tied into it, but I will get better about actually posting these recordings. But I think today is a really important one to post, so I will. So you guys will be able to see that soon. Now, shut up, Neil. It's not over. You guys are all going, good show. Listen, I'm just doing a recap. I'm going to play one more track. We still have 20 minutes left. So we can touch on whatever you guys want to touch on. Maybe it's each other. Maybe it's you and me. Maybe it's a little thing about whatever you're touching on Hive. There's plenty of things to talk about. I'm going to play you guys a track. I'm going to say hi to Dylan because I haven't said hi to Dylan yet and any of the people jumping in and out. My name is Crimson Clad. I'm one half of Follow BTC News Witness. And I think what we will do is talk a little bit about witness voting. Chimaticus, I didn't get a notification. How come that didn't happen? Let's take a check. Roll. You do indeed have the Steamwave Saturday roll. It may be, I don't know, actually. You have the roll, but we'll look into it for you. Now, that being said, I'm one half of Follow BTC Witness and Follow BTC News Witness. And I do want to talk a little bit about witness votes after we come back from this song. And we will move on from there. And of course, we'll be doing this every week. So if you're worried that you didn't get in at the right time today, if you're worried you have stuff you want to talk about, I'm here. You can always DM me, and we'll continue on from this point. But I'm going to play you guys one more song. I'm going to play you a track called Airlock Love by Wave Shaper. My name is Crimson Clad. This is MSP Waves. We are live no matter what blockchain you love. But I'm not going to lie. The Hive is alive, kids. Called Airlock Love by a group called Wave Shaper. Hi, my name is Crimson Clad. I am a Hive witness. I was a Steem witness. I am one half of Follow BTC News. I have been in and out of consensus all over the place. Sometimes I'm top 20, sometimes I am not. I am madly in love with the spirit of Steem and the reality of Hive, disruptive technologies, synthwave music community, that awesome neo-noir, neo-Tokyo Blade Runner kind of feeling. And on Saturdays, I open up my studio, my life, my home, and my thoughts to you guys. And this show belongs to each and every one of you. Hi, Absinthe-Minded. Thanks for joining us. Whoever's jumped in, who's jumped out. Ron, I swear to God, stop tagging everyone. Oh my goodness. This is very frustrating. Please fucking stop. It means that this server will lose efficacy in trying to contact people. And it also means that people will be really fucking annoyed when my show comes on. Now, that being said, let's discuss a little bit about witness votes. Fucking clown. Fucking clown. Diluting my currency. Look at this. I said efficacy, but nice try. Put them words in my mouth, bitches. I will just spit them right back out and tell you the truth. So, welcome to whatever the fuck this show is going to be called. I don't know. I am answering questions about Hive. I'm telling you my sincere thoughts and answering questions and comments, bringing people together to discuss. Now, I want to touch on witness voting. So here's the deal. We talked about this last week. When everything was cloned, your witness votes were cloned over from Steem. Holy fucking shit, Ron. I swear to God. I swear to God. You are normally the one. You're normally the one who does not want that tag to be used. And I am super frustrated that these are actual everyone tags going out. I hope to God they're not. I hope they are fake. I think it might be a role. Please tell me this is a goddamn role that he has created. I'm hoping it is. And if it is, that's a good joke then. And then I'll feel stupid. They are fake. Perfect. Good. All right. So, aha! I can't tell when I'm on air and I'm in streamer mode. So I've been trolled live on air, but fair enough. I would seriously not want to see everybody getting pinged. And I was laughing crying because Ron is the one who shits on everyone. Who shits on everyone for using the everyone role. Whew, I'm glad. I would have been very upset. That's okay. I figured it out before you said it, Ron. I actually right-clicked on it, but it's hard. It's hard to be an accurate live DJ and keep up to what's going on in chat. So when I do fail at that, listen, I am only human, believe it or not. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about witness voting. And so one of the things that we touched on last week was, hey, your votes copy over. They are two separate chains now. And here's what I want you to do. I would like each and every one of you to go back to Steem if you are still there. And I would like you to unvote follow BTC News on Steem. Hive, we will be a witness. Absolutely. But here's the thing. If you truly do intend to move over, if you don't care what's happening on Steem, if you don't care what's happening on Hive, whatever the case may be, whatever you feel like, treat these as different votes. And those votes, oh my God, Patient Zero, like, I really like you, but sometimes I wonder if you don't want me to, because I think the facetiousness is just, sometimes I can't tell where you're joking and where you're not joking. But I would agree, if you want to go fix your witness votes now, you should. Now, I'm telling you, I will be disabling the Steem witness today. That's going to happen. My heart is still in helping people on Steem. However, I do not feel that my infrastructure and my money is something that I want to spend in the Steem ecosystem. And that's fine. So that's good. My personal life, I will give to you. However, where I want to place my active development and my active support will be in the Hive ecosystem. So what I'd like to see each and every one of you do is, if you intend to continue voting witnesses on Steem, please unvote follow BTC News on the Steem blockchain. Please give this vote to someone who is a backup. Please give this to somebody on the Steem blockchain who you feel is technically competent and who cares about the chain and who will be there for the long run with infrastructure. That doesn't mean you can't vote for Justin Sun's witnesses, but if you do that, understand that you are definitely voting for centralization and that Hive is going to be a very different experience for you. So what I would like to see is treat these two chains differently. Look for votes on the Steem blockchain that support what you want to see on Steem. Now, right now, a boot, quiet to you, I do want to see this happening on Hive too. And so I'm going to remind you guys all again. You know this, but I'm going to remind you all again. On the Hive blockchain, your votes have carried over. Maybe you were voting strategically on Steem. What that means is you may indeed have voted a certain way because of the circumstances. Well, things have changed now. Hive is different, and there are more and more witnesses coming online every day. You may have votes for people in the top 20 you love and you want to keep. You may have votes that you took off of people lower down that you wish you could make. Do it. Make them again. Absolutely. One of the very first steps to getting to Hive is to deciding, hey, let me take governance back into my own hands. Is this an ad? I guess. I guess it is. Oh, no, you had I don't know. I'm not sure what you want. Is it an ad? Yes, it is. It's an ad for you to get out there and take responsibility for your votes. Now, whether that means you find a proxy, whether that means you just clear your votes and you don't do anything, or whether it means you say, yep, I'm happy with what I've got, that's fine. But recognize that we are now in a new chain and decentralization is important. So, one of the most wonderful things that you can do is get back to voting from top to bottom based on services and ability to run a good witness server and who you believe in. So, please do that. Please do that. And if that means you literally only voted for Follow BTC News or somebody towards the top because you felt like you needed to in the circumstances, take them votes off. Take them off. Vote again. Hive was created for you to have the ability to vote where you chose again. To move you back to a place where whatever decentralization looks like for you, you can speak up for it. Make your votes. If you're unhappy with how Hive even came about, go ahead and unvote everyone or vote people that you want to see change it. All of that is fine. Please do that. I am encouraging you to do that. But there are many witnesses from top to bottom, and they all deserve your consideration. Do they deserve your vote? I don't know. You have to decide that for yourself. However, if you are just voting the top 20 right now because of what was happening previously on Steem, please change them on Hive. And please change them on Steem as well. Now, one of the most important things going forward, and Big Tom is saying, all I want is Steem going forward is to stay alive for 12 weeks. Yes, there are many people who want to power down or they want to get through a schedule, and I agree. So right now, we are absolutely going to continue running the RPC node for a little bit. But I think the most important thing that I can do for Steem is no longer run that witness, because there are people, and I agree, Solo, Tech Coder X is a fabulous witness. He's a great coder. He has a real interest in true decentralization, and he's trying to make a go of that on both chains. Now, there are many people on Steem who are totally committed to Steem. They like Steem, they love Steem, and they also don't mind Justin Sun, but they're also not a puppet. And you can go back and vote for them should you choose. If you don't care about Steem, I would still recommend you remove your votes from those people in the top or from those who are disabled. And you can either leave them unvoted or you can vote for backup witnesses you trust, in the hope that as you walk away from this ecosystem, that they will do their best to bring it back to something new. That's possible as well. However, my infrastructure will be moving to Hive. My heart will be in both places. And as I discussed with you guys last week, my goal will be to create a video that I will leave as my last post on Steem. That'll be like, hey, any question you ask here, technical or not, I will be back constantly to help answer them for you. And then, of course, I will be focused on Hive in a lot of ways. I understand that many people are torn, and that's okay. You will figure it out. I want you to be empowered in your witness voting, and I want you to be empowered in the ability to decide what you're going to do, and that's okay if it's both things. However, if the things that brought you to Steem were the community, the dreams, the ideals, I truly do believe that you're probably going to find a lot of those on Hive. Steem is going to become something, but it's very unlikely that it's going to become more decentralized. So take that as you will. Make your own decisions, but be smart. I believe that all of you are smart, whether or not you've decided what you're going to do yet. And it is absolutely okay to have what you feel is a dissenting opinion. Now, to get away with not just reiterating the same show over and over again, because we had an entire show talking about how do we disagree in an ecosystem that we're all friends in. We had a whole show about it. To get away from redoing these shows, I'm coming up towards the end of today. My name is Crimson Clad. Every Saturday, I do this show. I'm going to have to rebrand it. We're going to have to talk about it. And in fact, I may make this a post on Hive asking for thoughts on rebranding and posting today's discussion because I think it's really important. There's a lot of info packed in that we covered over today. It's been a great talk. If you're willing, I do this every single Saturday, and I've been doing it for 3 years. So if you're locked in your house, if there's a lot of stuff going on and you want a place to talk, whether it's on air with me, here in chat with everybody else, this is your show. You drive it, you drive me. And we're all in this together. So if you have questions, comments, things you want to, air out, things you want to fight me about, whatever the case may be, bring them to the show. I am at your service. But I am also coming up to the end of my time here. My friends, you can check out mspwaves.com for the full streaming schedule. But for today, I am all done. Bye-bye.